Hey, everybody. While you are joining, I know we are getting started here at 8. We won't waste anybody's time because we want to be respectful of that. So we're just kind of going to go ahead and get started because we want to keep everybody's time and obviously thank the person that is joining us tonight to share. So welcome to your second episode of FBLA Collegiate Industry Connect series. This one is titled Build a Strong Foundation for Financial Success. I'm Bethany Duke, your National Collegiate President, and I am so excited to be your host for tonight. And I'm thrilled to introduce our guest speaker, Renu Midha. Renu is the Early Careers Leader at Equifax, and she plays a key role in designing, developing, and implementing strategies for early career professionals. With a wealth of experience in career development, she is passionate about helping young people build the skills and financial knowledge they need to succeed in the workplace. Renu is based in Atlanta, Georgia, and she's also a proud mom to twins who are juniors. A fun fact about Renu, she's a therapy dog handler for her sweet golden retriever, Addie. So not only does she help young professionals navigate their careers, she is also bringing smiles to others with Addie's visits. But before we jump on to get into all of the goodness that she has to share with us, please remember this webinar does count towards the FBLA Collegiate Excellence Award. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure that you register for that award on FBLA Connect. Once you register, you'll receive an email with the registration link to Airtable, and that's going to be our platform for tracking your points for the award. Also, make sure that you are taking screenshots throughout this session. You need to submit those through the Airtable within 24 hours. That is a hard stop deadline. Please make sure you do that. And it's really important to follow those instructions because any submissions after 24 hours will not be eligible for credit. So we all definitely want to get to that gold level. With that, we're going to dive right in, and it's my honor to hand things over to Renu, who will help us build strong foundations for financial success. Take it away, Renu.
Thank you so much, Bethany, and welcome everybody to this session. It's my absolute pleasure to be here and talk to you about financial inclusion. This is an open session, so we definitely want to hear your questions, your comments as we go through. Please do not hold your questions to the end. I want this to be more of a conversation. So let's start off with something easy. You guys know from Bethany that I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia at our head office in downtown. How about a couple of you tell me, where are you from, which state and which school you're from? I don't know if you can come off mute and you can speak, or we can put these things in the chat.
You can all put these in the chat. You should be. I don't know if you heard me, but you should be able to put those in the chat as far as where you're from, names, things like that. And Alyssa and I are monitoring that. You can also put it in the Q&A section.
It looks like the chat is disabled, so go ahead and pop open your Q&A, and
Sorry, everybody.
we will go ahead and get those out there to Renu.
Excellent. Well, keep typing them in as I begin talking, and like I said, let's make this more of a conversation. So again, Equifax, we're based here. We're a global organization. We're in many countries around the world, and we're about 15,000 employees strong. So kind of a mid-sized global organization, if you will. And what do we do, I feel, is the first question. And let me help you with that, really. So what we do is we help our customers live their financial best, right? And our customers are everyone, basically. So I'm a customer of Equifax as well as an employee. What we do is we help provide credit scores which basically say to lenders, banks, and other institutions how risky you are as an individual as it relates to lending. So that's kind of a very high level. Okay, and the technology is working. Excellent. Live their financial best. So financial inclusion is core to our purpose, right? As an organization, helping people live their financial best is what we are all about. So then we have to think about, what does financial inclusion mean? And what does it mean to people and businesses? So we help them access necessary financial tools and resources so that they can get what they want and what they need in life, regardless of income or economic status. We're all connected by challenges. We all have very different challenges. We're all at different stages of our financial journey. So one of the interesting things is, no matter where you are in the stage of your journey, there's always something to learn. Okay. Do we have any comments in the chat? Because I see it coming.
We do.
Okay.
We have people, Lanier Technical College here in Georgia.
Nice.
We have Kitty Roberts from Yavapai College in Arizona. I probably butchered that.
Okay, Arizona.
Yes, we have FBLA advisors on from Pasco Hernandez State College in Florida, Tallahassee State College. You have high schoolers on here representing from Easton Area High School.
Okay.
Lots of people all over Mississippi, Florida, Arizona.
Fantastic. Okay, what a wonderful turnout. And I hope everybody is staying safe and well after the weather of last week. Okay, so really, what does economic change, financial opportunity mean to you all, right? As I've said, we're all at different stages of our financial journey. Let's think about something that's kind of near and dear to all of us, cell phones, right? I'm sure if, we were on camera, if I asked you to raise your hands, how many of you do not have a cell phone? I'm pretty sure most of us have a cell phone. So as we think about our financial journey, it starts with a number of things. So it could be your first cell phone. It could be your first apartment, whether you're renting or leasing. It could be, as you think about buying your first car. With a car, you need insurance, right? So whether that's car insurance or your apartment, even if you're renting, you need renter's insurance. So there's lots of things and lots of ways that the information that we provide to our partners and to our customers help individuals. So those are the first few things that I've just mentioned are directly related to all of us. As you go into higher education, that's another thing that requires payments, right? Whether it's through scholarships, student loans, or maybe you're working through university as well. We also help small businesses. We do a lot in the fraud prevention space as it relates to keeping people's data safe. And also the data that we provide to our partners and agencies and other companies helps ensure that the right people are able to access government benefits as well. So there's a huge opportunity and ways that we help. So one of the other things that Equifax does is in the data that we provide, we play a key role in helping those that are unbanked or underbanked. So I'll just kind of outline what I mean by that. So when you're new to credit, you may not have a credit score. You may not have credit available. I will tell you kind of a somewhat funny tale. When I moved to the US 20 years ago now, quite some time ago, I automatically thought, I didn't think that I would have to think about, oh, what's my credit score? So moving from London, where we have very similar credit providers as we do in the US, I moved to the US, and one of the first things we wanted to do was buy a car, and we were not able to buy a car because they told us at the dealership we don't have a credit rating. So even as you continue to grow in your financial journey around financial inclusion, like I said at the beginning, it's all about learning. That was kind of very eye-opening to, my husband and I, in terms of how do we grow our credit? How do we get a credit card? So there's lots of different ways that you can grow your credit to ensure that you have access to different financial opportunities. Anyone have a question or a comment or anything in the chat?
Not as of now, but I did give everybody the ability to unmute, I believe.
Oh, great.
So if you do have a question, feel free to unmute and ask.
Yes. And can some brave soul actually try it, even just to say hello and where you're from, so we know it works?
Hello.
Hey, this is Kimberly Jackson. I'm from South Carolina.
Oh, nice to meet you, Kimberly Jackson. I hope you're all safe in South Carolina.
Yes, we survived the storm. Praise God.
Oh my goodness. I have family out there and they've been without power for 5 days, but they are well. So lovely to meet you and thanks for joining today. And we know it
Hello,
works. So everybody else on this call, I think there's about 34 of us right now. Please ask questions as much as I think you want to listen to me for 60 minutes. We're not going to do that to you. We really want to make this an interactive session.
hello. My name is Romney Run. I'm from Arizona. I go to Yavapai College, and I was actually wondering if you would be able to send us a link to the slide that you had sent on before.
Yes, I will work out a way to ensure that I'm able to share a copy with you all after today.
Okay, thank you.
Very nice to meet you, Ramani. Very cute name. And thanks for joining today. And thanks for asking the question.
Of course, thank you as well.
My pleasure. Anybody else? Now you're not the first person to speak, so I feel questions and comments will come forth.
I have a question.
Sure.
I know that when I was in college, one of my issues that I had was trying to figure out how to build my credit, because really going into college, my parents paid for my phone bill in high school, and they paid for my insurance for my vehicle. And so really every bill was taken care of. But when I got to college, I started kind of understanding that I needed to build credit for my future. And I did that in a couple of different ways. One was kind of it was a voluntold way, which was I was then going to pay for my own phone bill. So that was one way that I started. And I also took out a $500 credit card, like a limit with $500 from my bank. So that I could start doing that. But for everybody on the call, I think it would be a really great way to maybe give us ideas on how we can, as young adults trying to forge our way in this crazy world that everything looks at our credit score, how do we set ourselves up with starting to build that?
I love the question, Alyssa. Thank you very much. So first of all, I have to encourage and plug that you actually come and meet me and my team on the 18th of October at the upcoming FBLA conference in Atlanta. I'd love to meet you in person. And in addition, we are running a session that day at 2 p.m. Eastern. So please go online, sign up, drop in on the day if rules permit. But we would love to talk to you about this topic. So in that session, we will be talking about what is credit, what it means to you, how you build credit, how long it takes, what are the advantages of having credit. There definitely are some disadvantages, and how we talk through those. And then, as you continue in your financial journey, I can speak on my own behalf. I've had instances where my credit wasn't where I wanted it to be. So what do we do in those situations? How do we remedy credit? As you're thinking about university, maybe it's renting an apartment, they are going to run your credit. A landlord would run your credit to ensure that you have good credit. And then in addition, you may be buying your first car, things like that. So you can plan how to grow your credit score so that it meets your needs as and when you're at those points in the financial journey. I think it's such a great question, Alyssa. Like I've said at the beginning, my twins are juniors at university, and we did the same thing, right? You've got to get a credit card, you've got to start building your credit score, and you've got to be responsible for it. So I'd be delighted to talk more in that upcoming session.
Thank you.
Of course. I do want to hear from the audience, though. Does that session seem interesting? Are people looking forward to meeting us and coming to that session and learning more about Best Credit? I don't know if there's anything in the chat, or people can just come off mute and say yes, maybe, thinking about it.
I think that would be a great session for the younger people to really know how to begin building their credit and the responsibility of it. So I do think that's a great session. to be-
Excellent. Thanks so much. And in addition, on the same day, there will be a session that is run by our non-profit partner called On the Rise. And they also will have a session which is tailored to youth around financial inclusion as well. So we are really taking on board our partnership with our non-profit as well to bring something in addition to kind of Equifax's Best Credit. So excited to bring that to you all in a few weeks' time. Okay, so products and services, as we've mentioned, we have many partners in terms of whether it's financial institutions, whether it's government agencies and partners. And one of the things you'll hear about as you go from, maybe your first kind of part-time job to your full-time job is people have to be verified. Your history, work history has to be verified. So Equifax actually has what they call the work number. And so it helps provide assistance, as you can see on this slide, to 25 million individuals who are in support of government assistance programs as well. So although we do things on the side of employment, we're also cover a wide range of other programs as well to help individuals who are at different points in their journey for employment. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about as it relates to Equifax, right? You guys are all at school right now, so I'm sure you're all part of other student clubs as well as FBLA, and my twins were also part of FBLA at high school. That's why this opportunity is so near and dear to me. It was very valuable for them as they were going through high school. So when you join most corporate organizations, we have a number of what we call employee networks and groups. And these are very similar, when I talk to students, we talk about them being very similar to student clubs. At school, I'm guessing this gives you a sense of belonging and creates a community for you. And we feel it's really important, regardless of where you are in your career or your age, that we have this at the corporate level as well. So, for example, I happen to be the co-chair for Inspire Asian. And as I said, as I came on board as co-chair, I know I'm kind of Asian. So I'm not setting up this network or joining to create a clique. It's more to create a safe space for individuals who have like backgrounds or others, because we absolutely welcome allies across all our networks who want to learn more about the particular groups. So one of the really interesting things is we all talk about having an inclusive culture and how important diversity is, but this really showcases that we do this. Any questions here on employee networks or groups? Excuse me. Okay, I feel people are quiet today, but I understand that. Okay, anything that anyone wants to talk about as it relates to the student groups that you all have at school or other clubs that you're part of and why they're important?
My name is Ron McCullough, and I'm at the Pastor Hernando State College, Gay City, Florida, and I'm new to it. And we're about to do the stock market game.
Okay.
So I wanted to know a little bit more about what I'm getting myself into as far as that game is concerned. If you have anything that you can share with us.
And you
And thank
said, I'm sorry, I missed the bit about, is there a game that you're looking for more?
Yes, it's called the stock market game, and it's done by the FBLA. I'm not sure if you are familiar with that or not.
I am not.
Okay.
I don't know
That's
if Alyssa is able to share more information, whether at this point or later in the session.
I would recommend going to the website to read about the stock market game, and ask your advisor if you need more assistance. But yeah, Rainu is not part of the stock market game,
Okay,
even though it it does have to do with
Mhm.
finance, but not necessarily the same thing. But thank you for asking.
thank you, appreciate it.
Of course, absolutely. Okay,
I
go
sorry.
ahead. No, please, Jenny.
I actually do have a question. How have y'all incorporated any I guess any methods or any ways to allow people to feel inclusive and allow them to feel like they have a voice, or how have y'all encouraged them to do that?
So a couple of things. One are the networks, right? We encourage everybody who joins the organization to join. And I think it's great questions. I think it's great to be part of a network. I think the key thing is, what do we do, right? So whether we're showcasing our culture, whether we're talking about areas that we find difficult in an organization. So I'll talk on behalf of Inspire Asian because that's where my experience is. So typically, as a group, and I'm not generalizing, so I don't mean to offend anyone. I am going to put that disclaimer up first. As a group, Asians tend to be quieter in the workforce, right? And so one of the sessions we've had is having senior leaders talk about, how do you break through that barrier? How do you speak up more? What are some of the soft skills? What are some of the skills that you can grow and develop? So I think first is recognizing what some of the challenges are, and then really finding opportunities to help and support individuals, because we're all at different points of our journey. We had a really good speaker at the beginning of the year talking about, and a very senior leader in the organization, and she said, I'm an introvert, but I'm on the leadership team, so I can't afford to be an introvert. And she shared how she had read this particular book when, she was much younger, and that helped guide her towards how does she, it's okay to be who you are, number one, right? You have to be who you are, show up who you are. And then what are some of the tools and skills that you can, learn and deliver? And I think, to hear that from a very senior leader in the organization, everyone from our entry-level new hires, all the way up through the chain, myself included, I think it gives you that, confidence that, one, it's okay to be different. We are all different as individuals, but two, there are things that you can do to edit and to grow and develop. I think outside of cultural events, there's lots of sessions that these different groups run in combination with allyship as well, so that we get to learn about the other networks and the people within those networks and the challenges. Does that help, Jenny?
Yes, that was actually a great answer. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Bring on the questions, everyone. I love answering questions.
Rainu, we've got one in the chat. It says, how do you join employee networks in the corporate world? If you want to touch on that a little bit.
Excellent. Great question. So when you join a corporate organization, you'll have what they call day one. It's an orientation where they take you through how you get paid, what the company does. And a part of that, they will talk about their inclusion and diversity mission and focus. And within that, you'll see something very similar to this slide, which talks about the different networks. And really, it's as easy for us, it's very easy. You just reach out on our internal intranet page, contact the network directly. And like I said, you do not have to be, inherently part of the network. All allies are welcome. So for example, I'm part of the Pride Network as well. I'm also part of BOLD. GROW is for promoting our young professionals, but I'm part of that group as well because I lead early careers. So my job at Equifax is bringing university talent into the organization. So by attending some of these other sessions and by meeting other members of the groups, you won't be surprised because you will do this across student groups. It's it's so interesting to learn about different people's points of views and the fact that we have very similar challenges, even though we may think that we are not similar. I hope that helps. Excellent.
I
Any
believe
other
so. Thank you.
questions? Of course, Bethany, my pleasure. Any other questions or anything else in the chat?
There is another question similar
Yes.
to what I asked earlier, but somebody wrote, as a sophomore, how can I start building a good credit score early?
Yes. So I will say one thing on this call is that I'm not a financial advisor, even though I work for Equifax. So the information that you're looking for is more in the financial advisor realm, and I'm not trying to put you off. I just need to be careful about the advice I'm giving. So please come to the session on the 18th, where we will have our nonprofit partner on the rise, and they will be delighted to talk to you in more detail. I hope that helps. And whoever asked the question, I look forward to speaking to you and answering that question in more detail on the 18th.
Thank you.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. Okay, so the employee networks, I think we've covered that piece. Let's talk about partnerships. So the other thing we do as networks is we do things in the community. We think it's really important that we're a corporate organization headquartered here in Atlanta. And, you know, we're an amazing company, but we also have a focus on partnerships in the community and supporting our community. And so, as I mentioned, sorry, I've got the hiccups. One of the things I've just mentioned there is we have nonprofit partners. And like I said, I'm going to keep plugging the session on the 18th in the afternoon. If you come along to our workshops there, you will learn more about credit, not only credit education and best credit, but financial empowerment. And they have a ton of resources. And the big piece here, folks, is this is absolutely free, right? As part of FBLA, as you all know. But the assistance that you can have from our nonprofit partner on the rise, either on the day or the 18th or after, will continue to be free. There will be absolutely no charge. So for example, if you know that you have a credit score and you want to pull your credit report, that's something they can work with you offline one-to-one. If you want to have your questions answered about what's the quickest and the best, the least risky way to start building your credit, that will be something they'll be able to talk to you about as well. And they are able to continue that conversation with you on a one-to-one setting after the event on the 18th. And again, it will be totally private, confidential, and free. So, you know, I know you have a great number of other sessions happening over those 2 or 3 days, but I highly encourage this one for you all to take a few moments to come and meet the team. They're excited to meet you all. Questions or comments? Anything here? Okay, so I think the other piece that we're really proud of as an organization is the philanthropic, I never can say that word, philanthropic contributions that we make in the from an organization perspective. So as employees, we actually get 2 days, so that's 16 hours a year, to go and support anything in the community. So for example, when my son was in Boy Scouts, you know, there was a lot of things to do with Boy Scouts. And so I used to use my time there. When my daughter was in Girl Scouts, the same kind of thing. But this is anything, right? The idea is that we want to give back to our community. And one of the best ways we can do that is give our time, our experience, and our expertise to those that need it. And in addition, we have a matching gift program. So if I make a donation of X dollars, Equifax will match that donation up to $10,000 to that charity or organization. So we like to think that we have our people doing good by going out in the community and doing various things, but also we're able to raise donations from a dollar perspective as well. And this is something we do globally. Okay, I feel I'm coming right to the close, so I do want to open it up to any questions on anything I've said before I share out some resources. And don't forget, as we said at the beginning of the presentation, take your screenshots, definitely get the credit for being here today and hearing about financial inclusion on behalf of Equifax, but absolutely earn the rewards that you are due by taking screenshots, etc. Anything in the chat?
I do have a question on that
Yes.
regard. Where exactly do we send the screenshots?
Great question. I'm going to hand that to Alyssa.
Sure. If you have not already registered through FBLA Connect for the Excellence Award, then you'll need to do that first so that you can get invited to the Airtable platform. Let's leave all questions about the Excellence Award to the end so that we can answer questions regarding the presentation, but I'd be more than happy to walk you guys through that at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Alyssa. So any other questions on anything I've spoken about today? I've deliberately, not had many more pages in the presentation, but happy to talk through or speak to any questions that you may have.
We do have a question in the chat. It says, what is your job title and do you frequently have the opportunity to speak to nonprofit organizations such as ourselves?
Yes, so my job title is I'm the Early Careers Leader. And basically what my job involves is creating these wonderful partnerships. And the reason I'm here today is because of the partnership with FBLA. And like I said, I remember the first time, Alyssa, you and I spoke, and I mentioned to you that my twins were part of this particular organization in school, and it had such an impact on them. So I feel there's two pieces to my role. One is internal focused around filling our internship positions and our full-time rotation positions when students have graduated university. And the other part of my role is absolutely building these partnerships, whether it's with nonprofit organizations, with other schools, universities, I should say, in the areas that we're hiring. So a big part of my role is relationship building. And I think just as an individual, paying it forward, offering support, guidance, and expertise from my perspective is free. So I love to be able to do that. I hope that helps answer the question.
And to piggyback off of that, Renu,
yeah,
I wanna just kind of mention the importance of networking, because this relationship that FBLA has with Renu didn't just occur out of nothing. It was through networking and the power that networking and platforms like LinkedIn have to offer people. And so using the resources that you have at your fingertips to be able to make these meaningful connections with organizations like Equifax and Equifax Foundation and On the Rise, and people like Renu who do this for a living, who want to give back and invest into our young leaders who are going and leaving FBLA and going to do great things. So I say that to say networking is powerful, and it can lead to many different opportunities. So keep that in mind as you're working through your day-to-day and then moving forward into whatever you do.
I love that. I think I was at another session yesterday evening at a local university, and the student asked me, so what's the best way to network? And I kind of laughed a little bit, and I said, you guys have LinkedIn. I'm that old, I didn't have LinkedIn. So to Alyssa's point, it's about how do you create networking opportunities? So as you come to Atlanta in a couple of weeks, please do not leave any event without getting the individual who's either presenting or you're networking with in the networking session. Please be bold, be brave, and ask on the spot, may I connect with you on LinkedIn? I think, the first few times you ask that question, it may be a little uncomfortable, but we've got to get comfortable with uncomfortable. And anyone who's in this profession and is looking to help and support you grow, you guys are all the future leaders of tomorrow. There's no other way of saying it. So we have to grow and support you in the nicest possible way. So please don't ever hesitate for asking for somebody's LinkedIn. What I will say, and what I say to students all the time, is please don't send just a request. Send a note. Say, hi, Rainu, I met you at this event. You mentioned X. I thought about it. I'd love to stay connected with you. Because that tells me that you're super interested. You listened to the advice and guidance that I was giving. And so absolutely, I will give, my time for you. I think the other important thing about LinkedIn is I have a network. And those of you that link in with me before the end of the day today, I will happily accept your invites. But I have a great network, and people within my network have a great network. And what we're seeing in the space of early careers is that the competition for internships, right, is becoming more and more, the landscape has changed significantly. And with that, having a network of your own, by the time you get to that kind of, whether it's the end of sophomore year or beginning your junior year at university, is going to be absolutely invaluable. Having that professional profile, having a LinkedIn headshot set up, and just being set up. Of course, you're going to start with very few connections, but you'll be absolutely pleasantly surprised how quickly you can grow your networks. I hope that helps as well. Any additional questions, comments on LinkedIn networking?
We do have another follow-up question in the chat about LinkedIn.
Yes.
They're asking, after connecting on LinkedIn, what would you say is the next step? So they've sent their message, they've sent their request to connect. What do you suggest to do going from there?
Yeah. So what you'll see automatically is LinkedIn. AI is everywhere, folks, right? So LinkedIn will come up with, as soon as I accept you, it will send you a message saying, oh, Rainy Mid has accepted you. And then it comes up with like a line of, I don't know, it may say, thank you for connecting, looking forward to, being in touch. It gives you a few examples, which are pretty standard. What I suggest you do is write something that's meaningful, right? And you don't have to do it right away. Right. I think the key thing is make the connection. And then maybe you see Equifax is in the news, but only good things, right? And then you reach back out and say, hey, Rainu, I saw this in the news, really interested to learn more. Or maybe you hear about our intern program and you want to hear more. Have something that's relevant, number one, to you, because students, it's your time that you're investing. Creating a network and maintaining networks is a lot of work, right? I will tell you. So make sure it's meaningful for you. Maybe you want to learn more about the intern program. Maybe you want me to put you in touch with somebody within a particular part of Equifax. I'm always happy to make the connection. So maybe you're interested in cybersecurity and you say to me, hey, I'd love to speak to someone who's new to the organization, maybe just graduated college. I can make that happen if you ask me. Does that help?
I believe so. Now, quick question just for my own curiosity. As far as making those introductions to other people, is it being too forward to ask sooner rather than later? For those, I know that sometimes it can be seen as kind of uncouth or bad form to immediately make a connection and be like, oh, also, what can you do for me? So what exactly does that look like? Is there a proper timeline or something like that? Because I think that's something a lot of our students run into as well is, well, I don't want to ask, I don't want to make the connection just because it's what they can do for me. I want to make the connection because it means something. I know that building relationships is a big thing for me. It's not just adding to my queue of people I have in my network. So I have a feeling there are some people that share that sentiment, right? So what exactly does that look like? Any insight you can provide on that?
Of course. And, I'm smiling because I've given this advice to my two kids, and they're like, no, we can't, after they've accepted, we can't ask for something. And my view is, and this is my view, I'm not talking on behalf of the organization. My view is be bold, right? We know what the purpose of LinkedIn is. It's to make networking connections. So feel free to ask the question. Not in, as you mentioned, not in kind of that direct sense of what's in it for me, but you have a question, right? So please ask it. I don't know what I can do for you unless you ask me. And like I said, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. So I think anyone who accepts your connection, whether they're a recruiter or, just an individual in a corporate organization, they do it with the vein of, excuse me, they do it through the lens of being able to help you. So definitely come with, is there any way that you could help me with X? What do you recommend I do to learn more about cybersecurity? Is there someone who's new to the organization? Please don't be, especially when you're talking to me and others who are like me, who are here to engage and support you in your journey. Please do not hesitate to ask a question and feel you have to wait a week. I'm going to be really transparent with you all. If I accept your invite, I see some already coming through on my LinkedIn, which I think is fantastic, but I'm not going to accept them because I'm on this webinar with you all, but I do see them. But if I accept your invitation today, honestly, when you ask me to do something or you have another request, I'm not going to remember. Was that 3 days ago? Was it 5 days ago? I just am not going to remember. So from my point of view, it absolutely does not concern me. It's more that you have something that you've thought about and you're asking me to help or support you.
Thank you, Renu. And I do have a question from one of my officers that isn't able to make it tonight.
Yeah.
And it may be something that is better answered at that event that we keep talking about that's happening
Yes.
on the 18th. But I'm going to ask it just in case because I told her I would.
Yes.
So she's asking, what are some items to look for in a retirement or benefits plan when trying to get hired at a company? Is that something that you can speak to, or is that something a bit closer to the 18th event?
I definitely say come along to the 18th, because On the Rise will be able to support. I can tell you from my own point of view, I'm not talking on behalf of Equifax. Absolutely, this is a question you should ask when you're accepting any full-time offer in any organization you join. So what is the plan? What's the company match? When does it vest? And I completely understand you're all very young, so not thinking about retirement. But this is absolutely an excellent question, which we can cover with our partners on the 18th. So even more reason for you all to stop by then.
Awesome. And thank you so much. I figured it was going to be, again, one for the 18th,
Yes.
but I thought I would ask.
Of course.
And to Rainu's point, a lot of times we don't expect to be with companies and organizations maybe as long as we end up being there. So please make sure that you're thinking about your future. That I'm, again, disclaimer, not a financial advisor, but I'm sure Rainu would agree.
Yes.
Preparing your financial future, that's what we're all about here. So come to that event.
See you all there, I feel.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I'm an FBLA advisor for a collegiate chapter in Aurora, Colorado at a technical college here. And yeah, I appreciate all this. It is interesting, just really quick, because it just happened. But you've mentioned, I know you guys are young, you're not thinking about retirement, but that question was from a young person. So I hope that, there's a
Exactly.
lot out there. They're thinking about retirement. So that's good.
Yeah,
But
because
the real original question I had was on LinkedIn, if you have like a premium account, like you pay for your LinkedIn account because you get more of the features, I don't think people can just message you. I don't think I can. And I only say that because when I just connect with you, it asked me if I wanted to use one of my in-mail credits to message you because I have that paid account. So I don't know that everybody or anybody can just message you on LinkedIn. That's something you might check with your settings. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I'm not on premium myself, to be honest, to be fair. I did hear something very recently, and sorry, I'm showing my age, but on TikTok, because I love TikTok. There was something very recently talking about how LinkedIn is changing its settings, to your point, Arthur. But if it's on my side, thank you for letting me know. I will take a look at it, and I will absolutely share my personal email with Alyssa and the team. So if anyone goes to LinkedIn and you're not able to connect with me for whatever reason, just shoot me a quick email and I will connect directly with you. But thank you, Arthur, because I wouldn't know otherwise. It's interesting because I feel other people have sent me invites and they're in my inbox, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either, but thank you for the.
Of course, pleasure. Any other questions or comments today?
Yeah, I had a question.
Sure.
So my name is Cassie. I'm also a national officer for membership this year, but I was kind of wondering more with the networking aspect. I want to get into event planning and things, and obviously I don't know anything about that industry. So how would I try and find more people that would be in that industry, even though, like, I know I have different business connections, but they're just maybe not in that industry?
I think it's a great question. Event planning is not an area of my expertise. I will tell you, I love planning events. I think small businesses are always a great place, right? You know, just to stop by, because they often have, you know, event planners that come by, leave their business cards, things like that. I'm sure if you go to LinkedIn, there must be a group that is set up for event planning. I don't know how you would get an invite to that. I think the other thing that you can do is set up a poll or ask a question on LinkedIn. So I've done this a couple of times just to get information, right? What are students looking for and things like that. So that's another way to use the LinkedIn community to just ask a question and see who responds.
Yeah, and Cassie, kind of piggyback on what Renu said, one thing that you can do is, I'm assuming you have knowledge of titles that people hold within that industry. So, you know, event coordinator, event planner, corporate event planner, whatever the titles are, search for those. If we're talking LinkedIn specifically, search for that title and start connecting with people that hold that title. And then follow them and look at what they're posting, see what they're involved in, and you'll start learning a lot about the industry just from the people that you've connected with and have started to follow.
Does that help, Cassie?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course, pleasure. Thank you for the question.
Can I jump in really quick? This will take really quick, I promise, because I recently did this on LinkedIn specifically for event planners. So there's a way, and you could probably go find a YouTube video like, how do I search for people on LinkedIn? And there's lots of people who will give you some training, but there are tons of event planners on LinkedIn, and they're happy to connect with new people and give you some information. So yeah, that's the way to do it.
You know, just in general for LinkedIn, I just feel people are very open to offer advice and guidance and support. They may not do it in kind of what I would call TikTok mode, right? That you get an immediate answer, you get an immediate solution. You know, it may take, you know, a day or a week for people to come back, but generally it's created such a sense of community, agnostic to, you know, whatever role or industry. I really feel people who are on there are there to offer support and guidance.
And can I just say, to kind of bring it back around to what you spoke about in your presentation, I find, like, I know we're talking about LinkedIn and the community and the networking that brings, but really what you talked about during your presentation, it kind of goes full circle, because the different resource groups that companies have that employees can join to build that community and build that networking structure for themselves within the organizations are so important. So when you're out there and you're researching companies that you're potentially interested in joining, those are the type of things that kind of should formulate your decision on whether or not you want to move forward with that company. So do your research. I mean, I know we say that for interviews when you interview or when you're writing your resume, tailoring it to the job description, but really do your research and look into the company's organizational culture and what they offer their employees, because it is more than just a job. You really want to find a position eventually where, and it may not happen right away. We've all been there. It's stepping stones, but if you're better off than Renu and I were when we entered the workforce, then we've done our job to set you up for success. So being able to find those niches within the companies that really align with your values and the pillars that you hold strong in your life will really go to making you a happy employee, somebody who is productive and wanting to build that network and build a stronger organization around them.
I love that, Alyssa. Really, really well self. You need to bring your true and authentic self to work. We work typically in corporate 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. It's a lot of your time. And I will say, just as we're closing out kind of campus recruiting and being at careers fairs at local universities, employee resource groups, that is one of the single most asked questions from students. Do we have them? What do they do? How do we join? What value do we bring to the community? And it's a total reflection on company culture. And if you're ever at an event, to all of you out there who kindly joined today, and you meet a representative from the organization, and again, I'm talking from my own experience in this space, if you meet a representative from an organization that cannot speak passionately about the employee resource groups, and that's something near and dear to your heart, maybe that's not a good match for you. Okay, I feel we have a few moments left for any last minute questions. If not, I can hand it back to the FBLA team. I know they have some closing comments to make and help you get signed up to ensure that you get credit for this session today.
Hi, Renu. My name is Alexandria. I'm also a national officer. I serve as the Vice President of Communications. I did have one last minute question. I know that you mentioned that Equifax has some diversity and equity groups that you guys have. And I wanted to ask, what support do you specifically provide for members in those groups? Like, do you guys like meet once a month? Like, what is it that you specifically do in those groups? I just very curious because I thought maybe having something like that on my campus would be beneficial to students. And also, I've also had the problem of kind of breaking the stigma of working with other people who kind of see my race as a factor that will, they see me since I'm African American. I've had to run in with the problem that a lot of people think I can't perform up to level as others given my race, even though I've been heavily involved. I perform well academically. I've been in several leadership positions. So I guess any advice that you can give to kind of have a productive conversation with them to kind of break these stigmas so we can continue to work effectively. I want to do it in a way that's not going to create further tension, but a way that will kind of open their mind and kind of, break through those stigmas so we can work productively in the future. So if you could answer those for me, that would be great.
Awesome. Thank you for those questions. So the first one, what do we do? So for Inspire Asian, we have a committee. So I'm a co-chair leader. We have executive level sponsors, so our senior leadership team, but we have a committee and we can't, to me, all of these groups, as you know, in student groups is the same. It takes a village. I certainly can't run a network on my own. So we have committees that are set up with various pillars to ensure that we're providing, excellence for our members, but also that we're meeting our members' needs. So I meet with my leadership team from the network every 2 weeks, and we talk about what's top of mind, what's on the calendar, on the roadmap for 2024, what we're planning. We have budget allocation, and where can we partner with other networks, support other networks at their events, etc. And then we just constantly have a chat going with everybody who's signed up to be part of Inspire Asian. And we're global, right? So we're in other countries around the world. And we recently just launched a global mentoring program, and we've ensured that we are matching. So if there are 2 people in the US, we're not matching them directly. We might match them with someone in Costa Rica or in India or Canada or in the UK. So we have a very kind of well thought out calendar that supports what our members want. Every year we start the year with putting out to them what would they like to see in the year. we can't grant all wishes, but we go with majority and see what is also within our budget. As for the second piece, I'm so sorry that's been your experience, but I really do appreciate your candor today in terms of asking how to have conversations around this. I think, there's these conversations need to be had, but like you say, in a professional manner, because ideally you want to move forward to the next level. So in my experience, having experienced things very similar, without going into too much detail, because I know we're right at time, is I find having more direct one-to-one conversations and really just being transparent to say, this is how this comment has made me feel. This is where I can add value. This is my experience. I want to bring this to the table, etc. That has helped me. It definitely has not been easy. So I don't want it to come across like that. But you really have to, what I found helped me is to be more courageous, but also at the time being thoughtful in the way that I positioned my comments. I don't know if that's helped.
That did. That helped a lot. Thank you so much.
Of course, my absolute pleasure. Any other comments? Because I think we're 3 minutes to go and I do not want to keep anybody after time. Alyssa, Bethany?
I don't see anything else in the chat. So I think they might have had their questions answered.
Well, fantastic. I just want to say, take 60 seconds to say thank you so very much for joining and listening to this very short segment on financial inclusion on behalf of myself and Equifax. Absolutely looking forward to meeting you all in person on the 18th at the sessions. I think ours start at 2 p.m. And if not, we will be at the networking piece right thereafter. But again, FBLA team, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I was telling my children all about this, that I was doing this session today. So thank you.
Thank you, Renu, just, for giving your time. I know it can be a late night and we are trying to give some diversity in time that we're offering these just because we do have a lot of different time zones. So we really appreciate you sticking with us in the evening. And thank you so much for talking about so many different things. You touched on, the different employee networks and those groups. You also told us about the wonderful event that's going to be happening on the 18th. Don't forget. And I am really looking forward to being at that. And then, again, just connect with her, send her messages. She said she welcomes them, folks. So definitely do that. Quick housekeeping things that we have. Make sure that you submit those screenshots. Please be advised, I know we have quite a few high school students on this call. This Excellence Award is for the collegiate division, so just want to make sure there's no confusion there. That is not for the high school students, that is for the collegiate division. So if there is a competitive event or something like that for high school, you will need to get with your high school folks, and advisor is the place that I would start. As far as the collegiate division, make sure you're registered for that and then submit your screenshots and answer that questionnaire within that 24-hour period. You will not get a grace period. Again, just want to make sure that you are aware of that because we are being very, very clear. It's very strategic and very competitive this year. So I just want to make sure to see everybody on stage getting that award. But with that, we are right at time, and I thank you all.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.